What is up, guys? My name is PocketCraft and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to go over the top 50 tips and tricks for Pokemon trading card game Pocket to help you get the absolute most out of this game. We're going to start with the beginner tips and end with more advanced tips, so make sure you stick around to the end so you don't miss out on anything. And if any of these tips are useful, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We're really pushing to 10k subscribers and we would love to have you as part of the team. That's enough for an intro, and now let's start out with tip number one of the most basic tips, but still really important to know, is that each pack contains different cards. They don't all have the same cards, and so you can click the offering rates button here in the bottom to see what cards are listed in the specific deck you want. So if you're looking for Executor EX, the only place you're going to get him is in the Charizard deck. Tip number two, for those of you who are starting out or for when the new set comes out in January, it will have 3 packs just like Genetic Apex. So make sure before you open them that you decide what kind of deck you want to build first. So I don't know exactly what cards will be in there, but say you want to build a Ho-Oh deck, make sure that you are only opening the packs that have the cards necessary for your Ho-Oh deck, rather than going around and opening one of each. It can be fun to open lots of different packs, but focus on getting the cards you need for a deck you want to build first, and then you can branch out from there. It will save you a lot of time and hourglasses if you identify which cards you need first, and then go on from there. Tip number 3 is that you can use pack points to buy cards. And my tip with this is you should make sure to save them for the most important cards. One thing that I would even suggest if you need it for Genetic Apex still, or when the new set comes out, is actually consider using your pack points to buy supporter cards like Koga, rather than just the coolest new card you want. Because these supporter cards are pretty cheap to buy. It only costs 70 pack points rather than like the 500 it costs for an EX Pokemon, and you'll need them for all sorts of important decks. Along with that, tip number 4 is that eventually Genetic Apex will leave and you won't be able to get any more cards from here. It won't happen for a little while, but the pack points from Genetic Apex will not transfer into future booster packs. You can't use them for Mythical Island, and you can't use them for the packs that are coming out at the end of this month. So before Genetic Apex leaves, make sure to spend all of your pack points to get any of the last cards that you're looking for, or ones that you think are cool, because you won't be able to save them for the future. Tip number 5 is, for those of you who don't know, you can press this guide button in the bottom, and you can actually win free cards from going through all of these tutorials. I've already been through all of them. They're a little bit boring, but if you haven't done it yet, make sure to do it because you can get some free item cards that are really useful. Tip number 6 has to do with deck building. If you're going to build a deck, but you don't really know how to do it yet, one of the easiest ways is you can use this auto build feature. Select the type you want, for example, water, click OK, and it's going to auto build a deck for me. And then I can go through and see if I like this and decide, you know what, this has way too many EX Pokemon. Let's remove the Squirtle line here, and we can focus on just Blastoise and have Lapras as a backup. And then you can go through and think about what cards might work with this. You can go into a battle, and if you happen to lose, think about maybe why and change around the cards. This is a really easy way to get into deck building if you don't know where to start. Tip number 7 is along the same lines with deck building. You can actually build from a theme deck if you've unlocked any of these, and you can just click on the theme deck you want, for example Mew EX, and it will build this deck for you. And then you can just go in and edit this. And so if you want to use Mew but you don't love the way they build a deck, you can get rid of some of the cards here just by clicking on them, and then you can add in different cards that you might want, like Mewtwo EX. Tip number 8 has to do with solo battles. In solo battles, there are actually a ton of rewards that you can win. For each of these that you beat, you'll receive hourglasses for your first win, which translate into booster packs, and then you can receive a ton of different shop tickets for completing them. So I would definitely recommend going through all of them. And a tip to help you is, in my opinion, they get a little bit boring when you're playing through them because you just fight the same decks over and over again. So you can just pick a super effective deck. For example, for this water one, we can do Pikachu EX. Click on Auto Battle, and then just set your phone aside while you're doing homework or work or something else like cooking where you don't need your phone. And this will just zoom through the auto battle for you. It will most likely win. Whether you win or lose, you can just hit proceed, next. You'd collect the rewards, and then you can just do the same thing over and over again until you max out on all of these. And if you do that, you'll have a ton of shop tickets, and you'll be able to buy all sorts of hourglasses without having to spend any money, which is probably tip number 9, is that if you don't want to spend money in this game, you really don't have to spend money. You can easily get all of the cards you want just by playing intelligently without having to spend money. Tip number 10 is that you can actually buy some of the most important item cards and one of the best supporter cards, Professor Oak, from the shop. They're very cheap with shop tickets. If you haven't already bought these, I would recommend buying all of these ASAP. They're very cheap and they're useful in just about every single deck combination. Tip number 11 is that if you have multiples of a card, like my Oddish here, you can obtain flair, which is basically you sell some of your cards with some Stardust, and you'll get these shiny particles or other cool features that will appear on your card. This is a really great thing to do if you have lots of a particular card, and it'll make your decks look cooler when you're playing in the game. Tip number 12 is to actually hold off on flair for any of your rare or powerful cards. For example, I could get flair on this Pikachu EX, but I don't recommend doing that. The reason being, trading is going to drop very soon, and in trading, rare and powerful cards like Pikachu EX are going to become very valuable. Some people may not have gotten these cards yet, and they need them to build decks. Or when Genetic Apex goes out of stock, if anyone starts playing the game, cards like this are going to be very valuable for trading. So I would hold off, because if you obtain flair, you'll have less of that card, and then you won't be able to trade it in the future. And personally, I think having a valuable card to trade for a card I need is a lot more valuable than the shiny sparkles that you could get otherwise. But obviously it's a game, so you can do whatever you prefer. The next tip is just kind of a fun cosmetic thing. When you have a deck, you can actually customize a lot of the things here to make it look cooler. For example, you can click here to change the card sleeves. You can change the coins, any of the coins that you've unlocked, which I think is a lot of fun. And then you can also change the playmats. You can unlock these through events, and you can buy them in the shop. They're usually pretty cheap. And this is just a simple way, as well as changing the deck box, to make your decks feel more personable and have more fun when you're playing the game. My next tip is about the Premium Pass. Now, I personally do not have the Premium Pass. I don't think it's worth it for me. But they do have a free trial for the Premium Pass where you can complete some events and obtain golden shop tickets, which I already did. And then you can just cancel it, not pay for it, but you have some free shop tickets that you can use to buy some of these items. For example, if I think this Charizard coin is cool, I can go ahead and use this. I would save them for something you really want, because you can only use so many of them if you don't pay. But that's a little hack right there, and they will have some cards in here, but any of the cards in Premium are just going to be different art versions of cards that can be obtained for free, and so you don't have to worry about being at a disadvantage if you don't use Premium. My next tip is about binders. You can make binders by going to your decks and clicking Create New, and I would recommend creating as many of these as you can with your coolest cards, and making sure that you have it set to public. What that means is that people in the community tab can see your binder, and if they think it looks really cool, if you've got some cool cards in here, they can like it, and anytime somebody likes it, it will give you a free shop ticket, which adds up really fast. My next tip is that you can look in offering rates here, and you'll see that there's regular pack or rare pack. There's a 0.05% chance when you open a pack that it will be a rare pack, and will have a lot more of the full art and cool cards. You may have heard this called a god pack or a rare pack, but that it is something that you can hunt for and look for. It is very rare, but if you get one, you'll be very lucky. And I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that you can check the probability of that up at the top here. Another important tip is to wish list cards you want. You can do this by going to the Pack Points tab and scrolling down until you find a card that you don't have yet and you want. For example, I really want this full art Gyarados card, so I can click on it here, and I can wish list it by clicking on the top right corner. Now, if I'm ever wonder picking, it will show up with a heart on it, just like this Kabutops here, which is another card I'm hunting for, and I can know that this is a wonder pick I want to do. Now, we already talked about using theme decks to build decks, but if you are struggling to learn how to battle and you haven't unlocked a lot of theme decks yet, if you've unlocked any rental decks, you can use those when you battle by going here, clicking on rental decks. Then you can use these up to 10 times, and you can go into battle with these, and it'll be a great way to learn what cards are useful, which ones aren't, and it'll help you get better at playing the game, and it'll help you cruise through some of these solo battles if you don't have any good decks that you've built yourself. Another important tip that you may not know yet is when you're in versus and in the random match, there's actually a beginner and a more advanced trading card game player setting. And I would actually recommend you usually battle in beginner because you get the same rewards either way. And so unless you really want a challenge, go for beginner. The battles will probably be slightly easier, but you'll get the same rewards overall. Next tip is that you can battle friends by entering a password. You can do one automatically or just put one in here. For example, subscribe. Friendly reminder to all of you to hit that subscribe button if any of these tips have helped. Then you can have your friend enter this same password here, and you guys will be able to battle each other. I do that in my live streams every week at the very end. You can check those out every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Speaking of friends, you can add them here in the social hub, and I would definitely recommend maxing out on friends. This will cause you to show up in more showcases, which will help you to get likes and more shop tickets. and they will also show up in your Wonder Pick so you can get good cards from them. If you still aren't maxed out on friends, feel free to put your friend code in the comment section down below and you guys can add each other. The next tip is to save your hourglasses to where you can open 10 packs at once. And I always recommend saving your hourglasses until you can do 10 packs at once because 1, it optimizes the time in between pack openings, and 2, I think it's personally a lot more fun. My next tip would be as well that there is a new set coming out at the end of January, so I would save up all of your hourglasses so that you can max out on getting the new cards as soon as possible. There's going to be 3 whole booster packs, just like Genetic Apex, so it will take a while to get all the cards, so you're going to want to make sure you save up so you can get a head start. Another fun tip, when opening packs, you can actually turn them backwards like this, and then when you open it, you'll start with the backwards card, which is the rarer card first. And so this is a kind of a fun way to do it. It's a way to sneak and see if you get a rare card. I personally prefer doing it from the front and just doing the sideways trick, but this is pretty fun too. My next tip is to battle often because every battle will give you 15 experience points, which helps you level up. And for every level up you do, you get some Pokegold as well as pack hourglasses, which will help you get more cards. My next tip is to try and focus on completing deck challenges like this. This will help you get more theme decks to help you start building out your cards, which is a really fun way to do, and it helps you focus on getting the right cards quickly. I would also focus on trying to complete these themed collections. You can get some really cool rewards for this, like emblem tickets, and some of them will even give you special cards. So you're definitely going to want to focus on this. If you don't know, my next tip is that there is a secret themed collection mission where if you're able to get every single card from Genetic Apex or complete the Kanto Pokedex, which I'm just barely missing a few cards to do, you will get a special secret Mew card that you cannot get in any other way. So that's definitely an incentive to go out there, try and complete your Pokedex. My next tip has to do with pack points. I would really wait to use your pack points until the last possible minute because you never know what card you're going to get from Wonder Pick or from trading or from just opening it up, and you don't want to spend all your pack points on this rare card you want and then open it on the next pack. So I would wait until either a new booster set comes out, and so you're not planning on opening Genetic Apex or Mythical Island anymore, or even better, wait till Genetic Apex is about to leave, because I already got all the cards I want from Mythical Island, so now I'm back on Genetic Apex, so I can get more pack points and wait to use it maybe on something really rare like one of the full arts when it's about to leave. Now we have a few more beginner tips here, and then we'll get into the more advanced ones, but if any of these have been helpful, please hit that subscribe button. We're pushing to 10K subscribers and it helps a ton. My next tip is a really simple one you've probably seen, but in case you don't know, you can hold the deck sideways like this and you can see if there's going to be any rare cards. And if you see like a rainbowy side to any of these, and they're not just gray, that means that you have a rare card in there. Another important tip, if you are just barely starting the game, something you should know is that there are starter Pokemon in this game. Depending which deck you open first, you will get a specific EX Pokemon. For Pikachu EX, you'll get Arcanine. For Charizard EX, you will get Exeggutor. And for Mewtwo EX, you will get Marowak. So that's your starting deck, which is a really great thing to know. So think about which one of those you think is best. But you will also have the option of a full art starter. You don't pick this exclusively, it's just on the first pack you open. So if the first one you do is Charizard, you'll get Charmander. If the first pack you open is Pikachu, you'll get Squirtle. And if the first pack you open is Mewtwo, you'll get this special art Bulbasaur. So you can achieve these other ways, but they're pretty rare. So I would definitely think about which one of those you want most. My next couple of tips are for those of you who are free-to-play players, and they are simple but really important. The first thing is just make sure that you open up your 2 packs free every single day. If you miss a day, you're going to fall further and further behind those people who are paying for packs. And so make sure to just log in at least once or twice a day to open up all of these packs. The next tip is to make sure you also log in every single day to do your daily missions. This will allow you to get a couple hourglasses every day, which will add up to at least 2 free extra booster packs every single week in hourglasses. So you're going to want to make sure you do this and do not miss it any day. Another tip for you free-to-play players is make sure that you max out on every single event. All of the events in Pokemon Pocket will have some rewards for free items, like shop tickets, hourglasses, Wonder Pack hourglasses, and experience. And this is going to be the best way for you to be able to keep up, again, with people who are paying in the game. So if you're free to play, and even if you are paying in the game, you obviously don't want to waste your money. There's a ton of free items you can get just by doing all of the missions. So make sure you max out on every single event in the game, and you'll get a lot of free items. My next tip is for you to be a good person, and every single time you Wonder Pick or battle, And let's see if we get Kabutops. And we do. Hey, that's a Pokemon we needed. So we got a Kabutops there, which is awesome. But every time you get a card from Wonder Pick, even if it's not one you want, make sure you hit send thanks. It's a homie move, and it helps everyone out. If we all do it, we all get more free shop tickets. So make sure you're always doing that. Another kind of sneaky tip, if you're just starting out, or when trading comes out, you can start a second account on a different device and do this and trade some cards over to your new deck. But when you first start out, you get a ton of free cards. You have a chance of getting some really rare cards. And then if you don't get cards you want, you can actually log out of your account or sign in with Apple or sign in with a different Google account. And then you can just keep creating new accounts until you get a really good start where you get some of the really rare cards that you want, like maybe a crown rare. And then you can continue with that account. And it's a super sneaky and easy way to end up with some really cool cards. Going back to things you should do every single day, make sure you also go into the shop. You get a daily gift every day. It's not much. I already picked up mine for the day. But if you do this, it'll help you rack up items more quickly to help you get more Pokemon. My next tips have to refer to Wonder Pick. I have a whole dedicated video about this that I'll link in the description if you're interested. But be really strategic about your Wonder Picks. Wonder Pick is pretty expensive to recharge and it charges pretty slowly. So don't Wonder Pick unless you see a Wonder Pick that has at least 2 to 3 cards that you want. If you have all the cards you want, then I guess you kind of go for whatever. And if there's a card you really want, like that Kabutops that I really wanted, you can go for it anyways. But traditionally, if there's only one card in the Wonder Pick, I wouldn't go for it because you only have a 1 in 5 chance of getting a card you want if there's only one card you want. But for example, say there's 2 cards I want in this Wonder Pick. Say I wanted Dragonite and Sizzlipede. Then now there's a 2 out of 5 chance that I'll get a card I want. And if I find a Wonder Pick that has 3 cards I want, there's now a 3 out of 5 chance of getting a card I want. And I know that's pretty simple, and you probably know, yeah, I'll pick a card I actually want. But what I mean by that is if you don't see a lot of these, and even if you have some Wonder Pick energy, I would just wait. Don't use your Wonder Pick, let it charge up. If you get completely maxed out on your Wonder Pick energy, then yeah, go ahead and Wonder Pick whatever you want. But otherwise, I would just save it until you come across a Wonder Pick where you actually have a good chance of getting a card you want. And if you're out of Wonder Pick energy, you can just click the plus up here and recover your stamina to whatever you want it to be. It'll use these Wonder Pick hourglasses. And that's one of the other reasons I recommend in this tip to make sure you go ahead and do all of the events, because you'll see from this Blastoise event here that I can actually get a lot of free Wonder Pick hourglasses that I can then use to get more Pokemon. Speaking of these events, I talked about a little bit with the solo battles, but also with these events, these ones especially, you're going to be battling the same version of the deck over and over again, and it gets really boring. So I would definitely recommend use the auto battle feature for these decks. That's the best way to get all of the new promo cards as well. You can just auto battle over and over again, reusing with the event energy hourglasses that you can get from winning battles. And then when those run out, just do your daily battles. And this is a great way for you to get items without getting bored. You can have it do auto battling while you go do other parts of your life. Another tip for deck building is to try and build unique decks. Don't just copy everyone and use Mewtwo and Celebi EX decks. One, because everyone is getting tired of them. But also, I find it's a lot more fun to try and experiment with different deck types. People don't know how to battle against you, so you'll be able to win pretty often. And you just feel a lot more creative and can use different cards you like. For example, I experimented and came up with this Wigglytuff EX and Starmie EX deck that is a ton of fun to play with and actually beats Mewtwo almost every single time. Another great strategy and tip for deck building is to try and build anti-meta decks. What that means is think of the meta decks like Pikachu and Celebi and try and come up with a deck that counters them, because almost 50% or more of the decks you come against are going to be those two. So try and come up with how to beat them. For example, this Weezing and Scolipede deck does super well against Mewtwo and Celebi and allows you to win really often. If you want more specific tips just on deck building, I have an entire dedicated video about that I'll link in the description, and you can check it out there. My next tip is that when you're deck building, to try and compound strengths. So for example, don't try and compound weaknesses. If I put in Venusaur EX, who has a really high energy cost, with Mewtwo EX, that probably wouldn't be a very good idea because it would take super long to power up either of them. But Venusaur EX is really bulky, and Exeggutor EX is also very bulky, but Exeggutor EX has a very low energy cost. So it's great to combine these two together. They go really well together. Exeggutor EX can set up quickly and tank while you set up Venusaur, and then you can pair this with Potions and Erica to heal your Pokemon very consistently, and this deck ends up doing really well because you focus on combining strengths rather than compounding weaknesses. Another tip is when you are building decks, try and limit the amount of Pokemon you use. Usually it's best to just focus on 2 evolution lines like Primeape and Marowak and not do more than that, because the more Pokemon you have, the less likely it is you're going to get the main heavy hitter that you want to get out to do damage. So if you just focus on 2 evolution lines, build your deck around 1 strategy, you're much more likely to be consistent and win often. My next tip is to experiment with decks that don't use any EX cards. I know sometimes they're weaker, but it actually can be really powerful because when they knock out a Pokemon, you only lose 1 point, which allows you to last a lot longer. And most people do use EX cards, so if you're not using one and you can build a powerful deck like this one, it gives you a lot more opportunity to build up your strategy, and it's very helpful, I've found, for winning. Obviously, there's still a ton of good decks you should and can build with EX cards, but experiment with not using EX cards as well, and I promise you'll have a lot of fun and you'll win often. Another of my big tips is just to make a lot of different decks. It can get really boring if you're just using the same deck over and over again. If you're just using Venusaur, or what most people do, if you're just using Celebi EX and Mewtwo EX, I find I get bored if I do the same thing over and over again. So try experimenting with lots of different deck types, build a ton of them, and you'll have more fun in the game. You can come up with them yourself, or I have an entire playlist that I'll link in the description as well that you can check out with different deck ideas. I've got a lot of deck tips here, but another one is to focus on low energy cost Pokemon. So for example, Marowak, Primeape, Exeggutor. If you're a beginner or if you're having trouble winning, focusing on low energy cost Pokemon is a really helpful way for you to win early, because some other decks like Articuno and Lapras are really going to be focusing on getting lucky with Misty, or taking a while to set up, or Mewtwo you need to set up with Gardevoir. And so if you have a low energy cost Pokemon, you can set up very quickly and yet allows you to beat some of these higher energy setup decks. Another interesting deck strategy is to try and build a deck around supporter Pokemon rather than a main Pokemon. Sometimes we think I want a Venusaur EX deck, and so we build one, and that works great as well. But another strategy that will actually allow you to build really powerful decks is to think, I want a deck that revolves around Erica, or I want a deck that revolves around Misty, and try and think of cards that pair really well with that supporter card, and that'll help you to build some really powerful decks. My next tip has to do with trading, which is coming out soon. There are these solo events that have exclusive cards that happen pretty often, and they usually run for far longer than they need to for you to get all of the special promo cards. And so in a previous tip, we've talked about how you can get the promo cards from these very quickly by using auto battle. But my tip here is to continue doing this until the event ends and battle in it as often as you can using this auto battle, because some people aren't going to get some of the promo cards, and then when trading comes out, that's going to be a valuable Pokemon that you can trade. So it's pretty easy to max out and get a ton of the Blastoise, or when we had the Lapras event, the Lapras, or the future events, it'll be pretty easy to get the promo cards. But if some people don't do it, this is a great way you can trade them for other rare cards that you don't have yet. And you still get 15 experience points every time you win one of these battles. So it's a win-win for you. Definitely max out on these. And like I said, you can just do it auto battle, so you don't even need to be actively battling. My next tip is just a fun one. You can star your binders to appear on the homepage here, which is a great way for you to have fun and look at some of your favorite cards really easily without having to search through your deck, which I like because there are some amazing designs in this game, and sometimes it's fun just to be able to look at your cards. I would recommend doing the free trial of the premium pass and then just immediately canceling the recurring purchase, because this will last for 2 weeks and it'll give you an extra pack every single day, which means you'll get at least 14 extra packs by doing this. And then it also gives you access to premium missions, which allow you to get some extra rewards. And this is all for free if it's in the free trial. And then you can also go to the premium shop and get this awesome Pikachu special art card. And then make sure that it is set to public, like I have here. And if anybody goes on to the social hub and community showcases, they can look at your showcase and like it, and this will give them a free shop ticket that they will find in the gift sections. Add tons of friends. There are lots of reasons why this is important. One here is the community showcase, as well as in the future, you'll be able to trade with them. Also with friends, they will show up on the Wonder Pick here. As you can see, Monty is my friend and he shows up on the Wonder Pick. You can Wonder Pick from them, obviously, but that means that there will be more people Wonder Picking from you because you'll show up first on their list, which means that they will probably Wonder Pick from you. And if they send thanks, like we've talked about in this video, then you'll get extra shop tickets. Now, I've given you 49 tips so far, and hopefully all of these have been super helpful. But tip number 50, my best tip for you is to check out this playlist right here, where I show you a different deck every single week This is going to be one of the best ways for you to learn how to play Pokemon Pocket. It will give you a ton of different deck ideas and other tips as well, so make sure to check that out right now.